Hello everyone, welcome back to Dexplorion. It's been quite a gap and I'm extremely sorry for that. I got caught up in some personal works which needed my attention. You know how it is. Sometimes it doesn't happen the way you plan and things go the other way. I'm extremely sorry for not being regular, and believe me, I missed being in front of you. I'll try to rectify that and try to be more regular in future. And for those who are new here, I am Didi, and here on this channel we design in Photoshop and share the process with you, and along with that we explore various tools, techniques and tips and tricks which can improve your workflow and level up your graphic design game. The effect we are going to create today is called Ephemera Effect. And why is it called so? Ephemera literally means something which exists for a very short amount of time. Something which is very beautiful, appears for a short amount of time, and poof, it's gone. Just like the money in my account. And this effect creates the illusion of that. Sounds complicated? Don't worry, while I am here and I'm going to make it easy for you. So let's get into the business. We're gonna start by creating the canvas of our choice and bring in the image onto the canvas, and our first step will be to remove the background. And regarding this image, I got it from pexels.com, and I've also provided the download link in the description. And for the selection of the subject, I'm going to use the quick selection tool. To make a clean and precise selection, there are many tools and techniques which we can use in Photoshop. And I know most of you already know that, and that's why I often skip this part. But if you are new and just starting out, then you can go to my channel page, and in there you will get a dedicated playlist of various videos on background removal technique. They are pretty detailed and I think they will be of some help to you. And after the background removal process, we will get something like this. What do you think of that? Frankly, we don't have to be very precise in this case, and why I am telling that, you will find out soon. But if you ask me, I would recommend you to do it as precisely as possible because it will make your end result look more professional. And after doing all the work, you can get something like this. I'll rename this layer as subject. We'll also add a solid color adjustment layer, make it white for the time being, and it will help us to see properly what we are doing, and also it will serve as our background. We'll be changing its color later on. After that, we'll add a new blank layer just below the subject layer and also convert the subject layer into a smart object, and then we're gonna clip our subject layer to the new blank layer and everything will disappear like this, and we're gonna make it reappear just like a magic. For doing that, we'll select the blank layer, take the brush tool, right click anywhere on the canvas to open the brush settings and select a custom brush which I have downloaded from brusheasy.com, and it's called Smoke Photoshop Brush. It's a set of 15 high resolution brushes and you can click on them one by one to see the different brush tips. You can find the download link in the description. And now if we click to paint on the canvas, our subject starts reappearing. This is just for testing, so I'll undo and make the brush smaller by pressing the right square bracket key and then click to paint. If you're wondering why the smoke on the sides are grey, this is because the brush color is set like that, and so we will again press Ctrl or Command Z to undo and now change the brush color to white and then paint again. I'm still not satisfied with the results, so we'll be doing one more thing. Undo again, adjust the brush size and start again. And this time what we'll do is rotate the brush tip by clicking the left or right arrow keys and try to align the brush tip along our subject's body. I think it looks much better now. What do you say? We can also change the color. We can also experiment with the brush tips. Isn't it magical? It will be even more magical if you can hit the thumbs up button just down there to like this video. And if you want to keep learning to create such amazing effects, then subscribing the channel will be a cool move. And if you do not want to miss out on any of the future videos, then do not forget to press the bell icon right next to the subscribe button. Coming back, you can see some extra smokes here and there. If you want to keep them, it's okay. Otherwise, we can add a layer mask to this layer and right click again to open the brush settings, and this time select the soft round brush. Make sure the foreground color is black and we can paint like this to mask them out. We are done here, and now we'll rename the layer as smoke. Then I will create a copy of the subject layer by pressing Ctrl or Command J and then add a layer mask to the copied layer, and then using the same soft round brush we'll mask out the whole body of the subject except the face. Let's add few more smokes here. I'll be stopping here, but you can go on. Let's add some more strokes over our subject, and for that we'll add one more blank layer above the clipped subject layer. I want this smoke to be little more dense, and for that we're gonna make our own smoke brush. For this purpose I have already downloaded an image of dense smoke from lumi.ai and we'll be making the brush out of it. If you have already seen my last video, you know how to make your own custom brush from an image. And if you don't know the process yet, then I would suggest you to watch that video by clicking on the I button above, or you can go to the description and find the video link. In here I'll be skipping that part, and after doing the process your brush will look something like this. I'll rotate it around 45 degrees, make it a little smaller and just click once. We have some straight edges here and it's looking odd. We'll remove them, and for that we'll add a layer mask to this layer and use the same brush to mask it. We just have to do a little bit of rotation. We can also rotate the layer itself to make it the best fit. I think it looks good. Let's rename the layer as thick smoke. We are finished with the composition, and in the next step we're gonna add some colors to it. Let's start with the background first. I'll be selecting a shade of green. Before moving on, we'll select the topmost layer, hold the shift key and then click on the smoke layer, and all the layers in between will get selected. And now we'll press Ctrl or Command G to group them together and rename the group as subject composite. It looks a little dull to me, so we'll add a levels adjustment layer on top and adjust these sliders to give it a little bit of contrast. Now we'll be adding a gradient adjustment layer. Click here to open the gradient editor. First click on this anchor and then click here to open the color picker and select a color. I will be selecting a shade of teal. You can adjust these sliders to adjust the amount of color in the gradient. We haven't selected any second color yet, and I will keep it like that and hit OK. Here you can change the angle of the gradient. I will keep it like this, and now change the blend mode of the gradient layer to overlay. Let's change the color of the gradient a little to make it more visible. I'm thinking of adding a second color in the gradient, and it will be a shade of orange. And then I will set its opacity to around 20%. We can also adjust the overall opacity of the gradient layer from here. Then we're gonna add a different gradient to the thick smoke, and for that we'll open the group and double click here on the blank space of the layer to open the layer style dialog box, and click here to add the gradient overlay. I've already set my gradient here, and I don't think I need to show you again. I have set the opacity to 36% and rest is all unchanged. I want to add some depth so that the thick smoke appears like it's above the subject. So I will again open the layer styles, and this time click on bevel and emboss and adjust the depth slider a little, and it's done. We are almost done, just a little bit of refinements. I'll add some more smokes. I'll stop here, and now we'll resize and reposition it a little. Let's add a design element purely for the aesthetic purpose. We'll click here on the ellipse tool, hold the shift key and draw a circle just above the background layer. We don't need the strokes. Change the fill color. Again open the layer styles of the ellipse layer and apply the same gradient overlay as we did in case of the thick smoke. Change the angle a little and also adjust the opacity a bit. We then convert this ellipse layer into a smart object, and why is that? Because we're gonna apply a smart filter, and that will be Gaussian blur. Not too much, just a little blur to give it some smoothness along the edges. And also lower the opacity to around 40%, and then we will reposition it a little and move on to the last step of adding some text to the poster. For that, we're gonna activate the text tool and click anywhere on the canvas to add the text. Type in what we want, increase the size. I'm using a font called Bebas Nueve and the style is set to regular. You will have few other options here and you can experiment with them. Let's increase the character spacing a little. I'll place it somewhere here. I want the text to be below this smoke layer, so I will click and drag the text layer and place it just below the subject composite group. I'm going to add a few more text. I'll rotate it 90 degrees and I'll place it here. Looks good. I need another line of text, and for that we can hold the Alt or Option key and click and drag the text to make a duplicate of the text, and then double click to edit it. And with this, our poster is ready. I hope you liked today's technique, and I'll also hope that you will be inspired to use it in your project and create your own masterpiece. I'll be back soon with a new video, but if you are interested in a totally different effect which uses somewhat similar kind of a technique, then you should watch this video.